problem with it. But they're just, folks, there's been so much condom use, and there's so many drugs for HIV. It isn't in the news anymore. You don't think about it.
Yep.
And it's probably the same thing there. Mm-hmm. The same thing is happening with vaccines and stuff like that. If you don't think about polio, or it doesn't happen, you don't know why you need it.
Right.
Yeah. And so there's a little dip, but I think they'll but you can see,
because I know when
they're right on top of it. I mean,
when we've had outbreaks like that chlamydia outbreak in Texas, it's because they were not teaching condom use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then again, most folks in their teens and 20s think they're invincible anyway, right? I know. I did.
Yeah. No, I still use condoms, though. I remember being like 14 at First Ave, and the MAP people, the MAP Minneapolis AIDS Project.
Oh, yeah.
Would come around, and they would, they'd have like these briefcases, and they would have flavored lube and condoms, and we could just like take whatever we wanted. So I mean, it always seemed like I had access to it, and it was what you did, otherwise you were,
for the longest time, I mean, during the height of the, when AIDS first really came out, the early 80s, we really started hearing about it, and then it was dominated the news for the next 15 years. And then now that they've got so many meds out there for it, and they're controlling it, like you said, Colleen.
Well, one thing, and also during the 80s, when people started talking about condoms, condom novelties, you put a condom on something, it's sold.
Yeah.
And now condoms are just so, to some extent, so ordinary. I mean, it just brought up that just, people still occasionally want to say, I've got this great idea, and they've managed to put a condom inside like a walnut.
Oh, God, that guy.
And you just still, I'm like, well, this may have been funny 35 years ago. Or a condom, a condom on a stick, like a lollipop. Or you'd be amazed. You're like, yeah, this was funny 35 years ago.
Yeah.
But it got people talking about condoms, not being afraid of condoms. And, and then after a while, they just stopped selling because condoms weren't, they just were. They were, they were ordinary. They weren't, there wasn't any shock value to getting a condom novelty for, at your birthday party.
Yeah. I think maybe as a society, we focus on HIV too much, and we need to remind people that there are other STDs that are just as bad. I mean, I don't want to get herpes.
Oh, God, no.
No.
That's a bad one, too.
That's a bad one, and there's no cure for herpes. There's no cocktail. That's it. You've got it, and it can spread.
Yep.
To other parts of your body.
Oh, yeah. And the chlamydia and all the other ones, I mean, the folks that have that or HPV, you don't know that you've got it most of the time if you're male or female. But for the women, it can make you sterile.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just messing, like they just don't,
it's
know
just
what's
not
going
worth.
on.
I personally, when I was active, it wouldn't have been worth.
No.
Oh, yeah.
The risk. No,
for sure.
I don't care. Put a condom on.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
Yep. Wrap it up, baby. So, Colleen, this was hilarious. And the same association, the Swedish Association for Sexuality Education, you sent me the link to the new name, the sparkly new name for female masturbation in Sweden. You remember what it is?
Oh, God.
Clitra,
yes. I'm like, I knew I had the word clit.
So these are very busy people, these Swedish Association for Sexuality Education people. They decided that there needed to be more open dialogue about women and masturbation, and they noted that in Swedish there is no term for female masturbation, as I guess we don't really have one in English.
I mean, I consider masturbation as a sort of a unisex word.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
But maybe there's a gender pronoun to it in another language that I'm unaware of.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they combine the words clitoris and glitter in order to encourage this, which, women like shiny stuff. Yeah. I mean, the headline on this, Colleen, it sounded like you could have written it. Oh, it's got a sparkly new name. I'm like, when I clicked on that link, I'm like, Colleen, is that your byline? I mean, I was cracking up.
I do like the sparkle.
It's like the Body One people. They have a limited edition one that's covered in rhinestones. And at one of our seminars, he pulled it out of the box, and like every single female in the whole room was like, "Ooh!"
Wait a minute. Now, is this a vibrator with the rhinestones on the outside?
Yeah, like
the handle and everything.
I was going to say,
no, it's like completely covered in rhinestones. It's like over the top.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, Austrian crystal, the whole thing.
Oh,
I mean,
it's a limited edition. It's like their holiday edition. Yeah, but every woman in the audience was like,
I know. Shiny object. I'm in.
Well, that's the thing is that everybody oohs and ahs, but when we get some of the stuff in that has
They
little
don't wanna
gems
pay
on
for
it,
it.
they don't. One, it tends to be a little bit more pricey, and two, another thing. It's another spot where there's a seam.
Yeah.
And I think there's the practicality, and it's fun to look at the
Washing.
shiny, but then you have to maintain the shiny,
Oh.
the cleaning and stuff like that. And so we'll get a few things in, and they're but for the most part, the sparkles and the feathers and too many sequins they're fun to look at, but they don't sell as well on our market.
Sequins lingerie does not sell at all.
Really?
Minnesotans are like, that's not practical. I can't wash it.
I can see that. That makes sense. Speaking of that, the toy cleaners are pretty cool. I every couple of days I'll pull out something out of my fabulous bag that you guys brought me from the employee thing, and I'll kind of look. And we've tried a couple of the lubes you sent. Thank you, they're pretty nice. But we haven't tried anything because I found something buried in the bottom that I did not know was in there, and it's a little tiny crop.
You got the mini crops. So those are fun.
Oh, I did not see that at the bottom.
Yeah.
This has been in the crease of the fabric.
It
so I
probably
didn't
got
see it
stuck in the bottom,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's got a little lacy
Yeah.
thing. It's really
Some
cute.
people got blindfolds and some people got the mini crops.
I got a mini crop.
Yeah, the mini
So
crops.
I was kind of excited. This has been in my outline for the last couple of weeks, and since we just mentioned klitra from a new word out of Sweden for female masturbation, I thought it was worth a nod to bring up the drug that's causing a controversy here in the U.S., the flibanserin, the female Viagra pill.
They found one?
Well, yeah, they're working on it, and it doesn't work the same way as the male one. It's just so that you understand what it does. But it's a once a day pill to treat women who've lost their sex drive. And but there's people saying, well, we have safety concerns about it. But then you've got the other faction that's saying this is just gender bias. You just don't want women to have it. And that happens in drugs and medicine, quite a bit. I'm just wondering, Colleen, if you've had any thoughts on this.
I know that we touched on this a little bit before, and I think one of the problems they're having is that you look at the studies, and it doesn't work that much more than a placebo. But I don't see why if it helps someone, why not?
Right.
And then there was a third group out there that says, I'm perfectly fine with my sex drive the way that it is. Well, that's fine for you, but someone who wants to do something about their sex drive,
right?
Why not have all the available tools?
Yeah. Well, you have a lot of couples that are disproportionate libidos,
right?
And that can cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, and then people can check. The thing is, you start here. I mean, there has to be a starting point, and I think this is the idea. And I do believe that there is just. When you get up there, all the people looking at the studies and doing all the stuff, that they're just really uncomfortable with the idea of it still with a happy sexual female.
Yeah.
I mean,
porn works really well, though.
Yeah.
In all honesty, porn probably would work way better than a pill.
And probably the good stuff like the Jessica Drake sort of thing.
Even better, yeah.
Yeah, way
But
better.
studies show it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
But
what.
that's the one thing, because you're talking about, especially when you're talking about women, it's such it's a combination of a lot of different things.
Yeah.
We're on guys, the plumbing is, okay, I'm going to be just really, really simplistic here. It's a little bit, easier. It's not as complicated.
Right.
And so I think having as many tools available.
But you're just not looking for vascular. That's what Viagra is. Just increases vascular, and it just helps the blood flow.
Yep.
And they're already thinking about it.
Yep. You could get you something up and over. But we'll keep our eyes out on this. It's kind of an interesting thing.
It'd be nice.
Yeah. That's kind of the way I feel about medical marijuana. It's like if it can help one person with cancer who's suffering,
great,
eat and be stronger through chemo, freaking A, who am I going to oppose that?
I'm not one kid of anything. Even one seizure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've seen seizures are horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. And you saw, of course, how extreme Minnesota is being about controlling this. They've taken any potential possible enjoyment out of the whole thing.
Yeah. And the thing is, and then they're also, and because it's so, folks are having a hard time finding doctors to prescribe it.
Yeah.
And
I was in Colorado for 10 days and I didn't notice anything.
Didn't you?
No. We were camping and in the morning I'd be like, skunk's been through here. And that was it. I didn't see people
soaking up everywhere.
No, none.
Yeah.
A couple of times I'm like, are you high? But
well, it's no different than seeing a drunk person, and those are everywhere.
But you see a lot more people drinking
Yeah.
Then I saw people
sure.
getting high. So, I mean...
And, the doctors, it's like, depending on what age point in the age spectrum that they fall, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm almost okay with the doctor saying, by the way, I do not believe in this. I don't want to prescribe it. So you might want to go see someone else who does. Fine. That's their particular choice. Sure. I just hate the judgment that society puts on this, because my father had lung cancer that spread and had a really miserable end of life almost. I just, if that could have helped him, it's like, how could anybody say no?
Yeah.
Well,
the seizure stuff is crazy. Like, these little kids, they're not thriving because they're having so many seizures every day, and it works. That's what's crazy, is it works, and they're not like completely because the drugs are like really bad. Like the regular prescription drugs for seizures make them like totally like zombies. So they're not learning, they're not growing, they're not having fun. But the cannabis oil actually cures the seizures, and they're not like totally like zombified.
No, wow. I didn't actually start out with talking with pot, but yeah, just sort of kind of went that way. There's a new trend, Liz, this is in your wheelhouse, I think, for fantasy gift, because you do the home parties and whatever. New trend out there that BuzzFeed is actually trying to make this take off, and quite frankly, I think it's good enough that it may. They've managed to get the term to trend: brodal showers. So it's like bridal showers for guys, and they're kind of capturing the trend of guys, going, the whole stripper thing. It's really kind of passe and boring, and doing something else. The pictures that they had of the 2 test parties that they did, one was lumberjack themed, absolutely hysterical. They had a beard decorating contest.
Nice,
so funny.
No, I could see that.
I can totally see it.
Because first of all, you could do like things for the man cave,
right?
So you've got that, and then there's plenty. Then there's the novelties for guys, and for couple sex and stuff like that. You could do that. There's, why should the lingerie always be for the for the female, like, especially, and if you've got 2 guys getting married and they got different personalities, you get them different thongs or going through there. It would be spectacular. I know, years ago, I had a friend who got married, and he got a party bus. But pretty much they watched cartoons on the party bus and drove around to bars. There was no porn.
Yeah.
They were watching Batman cartoons and Animaniacs.
I will say,
because
I bring a lot of our like women novelties to Pride, and I was looking at the wall on Sunday, and I was like, well, we really do have a lot of female novelties, like boobs and vaginas.
We've had to fight to get them, but it's slowly,
like we sold out of our booby frisbee.
Really?
That I brought to Pride. That is a big hit. I'm like, people must think,
seen that
could, you go play disc golf, right? Instead of golf, but you bring your booby frisbees. And awesome.
Do they fly nice?
Sure. I don't know. I haven't tried.
I'm not sure. I'm sure. They probably do.
Sure. They're flat. They look just like a frisbee, but there's like
it's not.
The top has got 2 boobs. It's not printed. They like stick up a little bit, with little nipples.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's a round frisbee.
Oh, funny. We'll have to test that one out. But what a great gift for a frisbee golfer.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Totally, right?
Yeah. So I think it's got a possibility.
It used to be we'd had beer boobs and those golf tees.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah. Was
like, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
We'd look, and some of them, there used to be like, used to be hop-along pecker, there used to be hop-along boobs, but there's a boob inspector badge. Do we still get that one? Yeah.
Booty.
Yeah.
The boob didn't go as well.
Yeah, the hop-along peckers are still funny. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't care if you see that hopping across the...
I know, but we don't...
No. They stopped. It's like, I'm like... with all the things that are out there, I'm like, do I get them in just for the nostalgia?
Yeah.
Or do we spend it on something going through there?
There was even more in the newest catalog for Pipe Dream of boob-themed novelties.
Well,
so
I've been asking them for years for it, so maybe they're finally listening.
Yeah. Yep. Very cool. Well, finally, in our news segment, this is funny. A couple of weeks back, we talked about the buff kangaroo in Australia that literally had... Were you here, Liz? It had a 6-pack, right, Colleen?
Oh yeah, it was truly freakish.
It was so weird looking, and he was just bopping, and he was actually larger than the average kangaroo too. He was like 6'5".
He must have gotten into some weird cow feed. Seriously,
honestly, it was just. He had this thing. Well, then Colleen finds. I called him the hunky gorilla. I couldn't catch his name, but this is over at a zoo in Japan, and it's this gorilla that women are flocking in hordes to go see because it's like, he's handsome. And, they're all built because they're muscular.
I was looking at the pictures because, this ran across, and I know,
he's a pretty animal.
And I looked at it, and I'm like, Well, it's a gorilla.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of zoos. I've seen gorillas. They're very big and muscular, but I keep trying to figure out. I'm like, it's like a new thing in the internet now is that people are going to try and find sexy animals.
Yeah.
I know. That's freaking me out just a little bit, I have to say.
I wonder though, in person, if he isn't more like come hither, because some of those pictures